my first question is,
Mm.
what would you say the average age, and you could go by decade, 30s, 40s, what would be the oldest that you've worked with and the youngest in terms of people dealing with the stress of caregiving?
Well, it's unusual for someone in their 20s or 30s to be in a primary caregiver role. However, younger people sometimes present to therapy with complications related to their role in a family, related to a family member, a parent, or other family member dealing with life limiting health issues or end of life issues and things like that. So that it's not unusual. In fact, recently I've had a couple of cases where uh, both of the people I'm thinking of are in their 30s, and but they're dealing with lots of interpersonal stress in their family related to how everybody's having conflict or trying to collaborate around supporting a family member who's going in and out of the hospital, things like that. I would say the majority of people who seek therapy support related to caregiver roles are people in their 40s and 50s into their 60s. And that's mostly just because of the age at which parents are often ending up needing a lot more support, or in a ramp up of support, or having repeated hospitalizations for acute care. But I would say my oldest patients probably are in their early 70s when we're thinking about people seeking support for caregiver roles. However, one aspect of this issue that I often find myself playing a role in is uh, end of life issues and grief issues. And we can talk more about this as you want later in this program, but when a partner or family member is in the caregiver role and that becomes an increasing, all encompassing part of their pie, and the person passes, that's a shocking transition for people, partly because of the fact that that caretaker role has really taken over their whole identity in their life. And sometimes that situation goes on for years. And so that's a really challenging transition. It's certainly a situation of complicated grief that people go through. And so that's that that's often people in their 60s and 70s or even
I
80s.
was born to older parents, and so they had me later in life. So when I graduated high school, they were in their 50s. So then, of course, when I was in my early 20s, they were already late 50s, early 60s, something like that. So I completely understand. I was the 38-year-old when my dad broke his hip, and they lived with me. And that is very stressful. It's hard. And then my mom, it was during 2020. So I
Mm-hmm.
had her a lot longer, but that was all encompassed, that just took, I can see where that just takes over, especially when you feel like you're at a point where you don't have much control. So it is hard, and that's
Mm-hmm.
another reason I wanted to do this, is because I know what it's like to be a caregiver when I was younger, and, being older in my 50s, like you were saying, not to give my age away here or anything, not that the gray doesn't, but I completely,
It's
hey,
hard
I
to
don't try to
hide.
hide it anymore. I stopped doing that.